Hello everybody, and today I want to show you how to break Bedrock very easily. So it can be useful to make a nice bedrock hole so that you can get from the bottom of the nether to the nether ceiling, and here you can have a nice nether hub without gas or anything. Just a moment everybody, before we get started, I just want to mention that this whole concept was invented by Myren Eario. Okay, he was the first one to showcase anything like this, and you should all go check him out, he's a genius. But anyway, I'm just going to be showing you how to do it and technically like why it works, but in very simple terms I can show you. So pretty much, so let's first start out by picking the block we want to break. So that, let's say it's this block, okay? Any block you want to break, you place a piston above it. Now to the left of it, you place an obsidian, any form of block there. This has to be powerable block, so just cobblestone or concrete or anything you want really. Next, lever there, TNT there and there. Next, place a trapdoor there. Get a second piston in hand, and now you have to get ready to click very fast. Because what we're going to do is we're going to flip this lever. These two TNT will ignite, and meanwhile while they ignite, we run over here. And still being in the crouch mode, of course, spam click a piston right here. So you want to make sure that you're clicking as fast as possible so that when they blow up, you actually get to place a piston facing here. So I'm going to use the Tweakaroo fast right click for that, but you can use anything you want. You could use drag clicking, you could just try to spam, you could bind your key to a keyboard key or something. Anything like that will work as long as you can click very fast. Now anyway, flip the lever, run over here really quickly, and against the side of this obsidian place your piston, and you know it worked when your piston is facing up. So as you can see, that actually broke the block. Now I'm going to do it again, so I'm just going to move over my whole setup by one spot over here. So I'm going to try to break this block, that's why this piston is facing up here. Block there, lever, 2 TNT, and a trap door. There has to be these 2 TNT, okay, it won't work otherwise. Anyway, you go over here, you do that, turn your right click on and place the piston trying to face downwards right next to this obsidian. And again it worked. As you can see, it actually completely destroyed the block. So let me show you why I actually want to place it against the obsidian, because therefore the piston that you will place will be facing down, and that's what actually breaks the bedrock. And this is a super easy technique technically. I've seen it work like this, so you just do that, that, and that, and like this you only need a trapdoor. You just run over here and place a piston facing downwards there, and sometimes it works but sometimes it doesn't. Like this time it didn't work. Let's try it again. So I'm gonna do that, that, and that, and place a piston trying to face downwards. Again it didn't work. So for me it seemed to have always worked when I did this. So like that, you place 2 TNT there, and it has to be the slab. I mean, it has to be that there. For some reason this time it didn't work, so this time I forgot to crouch, and let me actually, I think that's actually the issue. So if you place an obsidian there, that might actually be the problem. So of course better bring some good food with you. That will always be helpful, of course. But I think the problem for me was that it was actually blowing up the piston. This TNT was blowing up the piston. And let me show you why that's actually a bad thing. Later. I'll show you later, but first let me actually make sure that this works. Yep, seems to always work. Okay, so cool. You know it's worked when it when the piston you placed, when it's still facing up. Okay, so you can have another piston facing downwards into it like that, but when this piston is facing up, either like that or with the other piston facing into it, that's when you know it works. But anyway, now let me actually show you why this works. So I'm going to put myself into creative mode and give me a debug stick. So I'm going to place a piston facing downwards, and let me actually show you what happens. So a piston, when it retracts, so this is it extending, right? When it retracts, it's gonna delete whatever block was here, because normally with a normal piston, of course, this block right here would be a piston head. So it wants to delete it, of course, because it doesn't want an extra piston head to appear, and that would be what that would end up like. So if it didn't delete this block afterwards, then that would be the problem. Yeah, this would be the problem if it didn't delete this block that ends up here. So it does delete the block, but the thing is that if there's another block here, so if you somehow got a piston to extend, but it's technically doesn't have a piston head, when it retracts, it will break whatever was here. So obviously we could apply this like this, so that actually broke the bedrock. The problem is it's not that simple, because you can't actually just make a downward facing headless piston facing into a bedrock block. You also can't move a piston that is already like this, because technically it's an extended piston, right? So you can't move extended pistons. That's why you have to use some trickery to get a piston to retract into here. And what we do is we actually use another piston. That this piston is free to retract all at once, right? So if I just make the setup here again, you could see that this lever actually powers this block. So it powers the piston, right? But then what happens with the TNTs is that, ignore this TNT. This TNT, when it explodes, it blows up this lever, which depowers the piston, which causes it to start retracting. Now when the TNT that was here, so the TNT that was right here, but now it's here, when it explodes, technically they explode at the same time, right? But just pay attention to this TNT now, ignore that one. When this TNT explodes, it's going to explode this piston, but you can still place a block right next to the piston right here, because as you can see, when this explodes, you can still place a piston block right in the same game tick as it starts retracting, which basically means we got a piston, because this piston, so remember what happened with this TNT, right? This TNT, when it exploded, it blew up this lever, which started retracting this piston, right? So when this piston starts retracting, then that's when this one also blows up, and the piston explodes as it's retracting, which basically means we can place another piston here, and it will retract for it. Okay, so that's kind of like the bug here that we're using, is that we can actually place a piston right into here, and it will retract for this piston, because this piston, it extended, it's now retracting, but then it got destroyed, and we can actually place a piston facing downwards there. And this downwards facing piston, it actually can break the bedrock. But anyway, that works like that, and it's really quite simple. And let me explain to you why you actually need 2 TNT. It's because you need to explode the lever first and then explode the piston, because you want the piston to start retracting before the piston actually explodes, so that when you place this block here, then it actually does retract. So you want it to retract, you want this piston to retract and then explode. So this lever, you can see it's right next to this TNT, so this it starts igniting immediately, right, in the code. But this TNT is getting powered through a block, so even though it technically gets powered in the same tick, it has update order makes sure that it gets powered technically later in the code. So that means this TNT, since it got powered first, it also explodes first, right? So it destroys this lever, which makes this piston retract, and that all happens before this TNT explodes, which then makes the piston explode. So let me show you again, actually one more time, what happens. So you just go up to here, and that works. So we actually broke the bedrock block, and let me show you, it also works when you do it like this. So if you do that, then either spam click the piston, as I said, or just use fast right click. Then just make sure to place this piston facing downwards like that, and that would work splendidly. Now the reason we need this obsidian block here, I don't think I mentioned this, but the reason it doesn't work when you just have 2 concrete blocks is that, remember why we wanted this one to explode first is because we wanted the piston to retract, but the problem is that if this one explodes and there's nothing here blocking it, then it will actually explode the piston as well. So let me show you that if I just power it by itself, so just to show you that it doesn't matter, that TNT doesn't matter, it will explode this way anyway. But if we have a piece of obsidian there, then this piston will actually get preserved. So as you can see, that piston didn't explode, meaning that we can actually make sure that it starts retracting before it gets exploded. And that's actually really cool because we can make sure... Okay, I didn't have fast right click on then. I was wondering why it didn't work. Yeah, you do need to click fast, either with the macro or this fast right click or drag clicking, so that you could also click really fast. Anyway, it's fine. I prefer this because it's more consistent. It always makes sure you get this nice bedrock breaking easy dubs. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much going to be it for today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.